The headlines on RT International. Tunisia, widely praised by the West as a model for the Arab Spring, is engulfed in economic protests, which fail, however, to get the same attention from Western leaders as similar unrest in Iran. The German army is signing up increasing numbers of minors as the UN raises concern over its school recruitment drive. Plus, pressure is mounting on the Israeli Prime Minister after a leaked recording involving his son suggests Benjamin Netanyahu helped to push through a $20 billion deal straight to the benefit of one gas tycoon. Thanks for joining us here on RT International, just turning midday here on this Wednesday. Here come your latest worldwide headlines. Tunisia has been engulfed in violent protests, with thousands rallying against rising prices, unemployment and tax hikes. Police used tear gas to disperse protesters who burned tires and hurled stones, with at least one protester reportedly killed. Now, the unrest erupted around the same time as the demonstrations in Iran, but went largely unnoticed. RT's Paula Celia has details.
Well, these protests in Tunisia started after the new year, and they came in reaction to the Tunisian government introducing a new budget plan for 2008 that included, amongst other things, a rise in fuel prices and tax hikes. The response from the Tunisian street was one of anger, and what we've seen is protests taking place in several dozen cities around the country, with the result that one person has been killed and several people have been injured. Now, it is familiar to protests happening in another country, namely Iran. What you essentially have here are two countries with protests taking place on the street by people who are unhappy with the economic situation.
The root of it is just economics. It's the problem of youth unemployment. I personally haven't been able to find a job for a long time, but if people have a job, they don't have any problem with the government.
Our demands are the following: suspend the 2018 finance law, return to the original prices of goods, and hire one member from every poor family. These are, in short, our demands.
The rise in petrol prices this time is huge. We have a lot of problems and have to pay a lot of fines. It's unacceptable that we pay for this government's mistakes.
We are protesting here because of high prices and unemployment. We reject the growth in these, and we have been subjected to violence by security agents.
Now, the Tunisian Prime Minister has said that there is no place for violence, and these sentiments echo the words that were used by Iran's leader.
What happened yesterday is a violation of the law, since a state of emergency has been declared in Tunisia. These protests are the result of operations that aim to revive social unrest.
We are a free nation, and according to the Constitution and human rights, the people are absolutely free to criticize the government and even protest. But their protests should be in such a way as to aim to improve the situation in the country. We, the government, will definitely not tolerate some protesters who want to destroy public property or disrupt public discipline and create turmoil in society.
Western leaders, for example, the French President Macron and the EU High Representative Mogherini, were quick to condemn the Iranian protests. You even have the American President Donald Trump calling for regime change.
Iran is failing at every level, despite the terrible deal made with them by the Obama administration. The great Iranian people have been repressed for many years. They are hungry for food and for freedom. Along with human rights, the wealth of Iran is being looted. Time for change.
But when it comes to the current protests that are taking place in Tunisia, well, here they've kept mum. Now, it might be that Tunisia was the first country back in 2011, at the start of the Arab Spring, to oust a dictator in a move that was widely approved by the Western world as being one of democratic change. But since then, there have been no less than 9 governments in place in Tunisia, all of whom have been unable to get a handle on the economic situation. The question, of course, is whether or not we'll see these calls for regime change and condemnation and criticism against Tunisia, like we've seen, for example, against Iran.
Sociology professor Saeed Sadiq says that the different approaches to the similar protests in Tunisia and Iran could be simply explained by the fact that one of these countries is viewed as an enemy.
Tunisia is on the Mediterranean. It's a small country. Not many people know about it inside American society. Iran, to many in America, had been the enemy. I mean, a major enemy and a major obstacle for American policy in the Middle East since its revolution in 1979. In the case of Iran, they are very happy to look at any small detail that happens or any small protest to inflate it in the media to look as if this is the end of the regime. So it is totally different approach in covering Tunisia and the Iranian protest. Totally different.